Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's officially that time of the week. It's time for Grit Talk, where myself, Kaleb, Emory, and Alexander Searle hop on here to talk about what's going on in the world of karting. And we had a pretty busy week last week going over to Rotax and the Cup Karts North America inaugural Summer Nationals, which saw over 258 206 drivers go out to pit race and fight it out for some hardware and for some first time summer national champions. So for those of you guys joining us here, I'm actually in Wisconsin right now at Badger Kart Club, where we get ready to go live once again. Here 2 weekends where we go to Georgia for the Max's Kart Challenge, where we go on dirt, and then this weekend at Badger Kart Club. But my two very special co-hosts that are going to join me here tonight, as well with some very special guests. Firstly, Emory in the car driving to Badger Kart Club right now. Emory, how are you doing? How's the drive been so far? And yeah, nice setup, dude.
Yeah, my dad and I, we made work with what we had. We're in the middle of Illinois right now, driving about 2 hours, 20 minutes away from Dowsman. And yeah, I mean, this drive started at like 6:30, 7 a.m. for us. It's been a little bit rainy here and there, a little bit of weather, and a little bit of traffic along the way. But hey, we made it. We're almost there. Hard part's done, in my opinion. Hopefully nothing too crazy happens. And yeah.
We got some fans here telling you to watch out for the detour, so you better watch out for that one here shortly, Emory, I guess. And again, Alexander Searle joining us here tonight as well. Alex, we haven't seen you in quite some time, but you're back on the mic this weekend, so good to have you back here.
Yeah, I'm excited. I said it last episode. The Casey Summer Series started for you guys a couple races ago, but for me, this is the first one of the summer. So,
yeah,
I'm excited. Obviously, been busy driving and coaching, so it's been a hectic couple of weeks here in the summer for all of us. Obviously, I think we all haven't stopped working, but we love it. I'm excited to be on the mic with you as well, Kaleb, at some points throughout the weekend as well. So I think we're in for a great weekend of racing in Badger.
Yeah, and I really think you said it best, right? We can't stop working, but there's always people that work much harder than us, and that brings us right into our first guest, Mr. Greg Jasperson, joining us here tonight. And I mean, for those of you guys who don't know, Greg's a man who's always working, whether it's his full-time job or working for the Cup Karts North America team, leading that entire operation. Greg, an absolute pleasure to have you on the show here tonight.
No, I appreciate you guys working around my schedule and having me on.
Yeah, definitely. I remember speaking to you at the racetrack and figuring out Tuesday or Wednesday what was going to work best for everybody, and we decided on Wednesday. You're like, yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, great to have you on. A tricky guy to have on a show, honestly. When we were talking about times and all that stuff, you were telling me that you weren't sure about Tuesday, but Wednesday sounded perfect. So, I mean, here we are now, right? So good to see you again.
No, absolutely. Yeah, getting home from a race weekend and stuff, there's always a lot of catch up, just like everybody has. So, like I said, Wednesdays will always work great. So appreciate you doing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, going back to last weekend, 258 drivers at pit race. The first time you're doing the Summer Nationals. I mean, talk to me how the Summer Nationals came about, right? You guys didn't have one prior, and I believe the 7th year of CKNA, so being named CKNA, obviously. So, I mean, what was it like for the first time for that event?
No, I mean, it was a great success. We've always long talked about wanting to do a Summer National, and for a variety of reasons, it hadn't happened yet. But when we did our first divisional at Pitt last year, between the response we got from the racers and at least getting our feet wet at the facility, we knew that it could handle it. So we kind of threw a plan in motion late last year to do it, and it all came together last weekend.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just in the green room, we were talking about, how CKNA came about. Alex is a longtime Cup Karts North America, I guess, customer. Myself as well. I was obviously racing last weekend and got to see it from the other side. Wasn't working from the production side or whatever, and I got to see it as a customer. And it's a very well-run event. The schedule's out super early, and for a guy who works full-time to really release schedules and be able to manage all that stuff. I mean, what's that like? Walk us through that. You still have a full-time job, and on top of that, you do all the hard work that you do for Cup Karts North America.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, and I don't do it by myself. We're very blessed to have a really, really strong crew and a lot of people behind the scenes that help me out. But yeah, I mean, it's just a kind of a balance of time, and we always want to respect other people's time. I mean, people are, yeah, I have to take time off to go to the track, or our staff has to take time off, but so do the racers. So, we try to get the schedule out as early as we can, and I know it's not as early as sometimes some people want, but we try to be really consistent with the schedule. So, for people that have raced with us a few times, even if the schedule does come out late because of some last minute changes or something, there's usually not too many surprises there. The schedules are pretty similar from event to event. Really, other than an adjustment in the start times just to accommodate some rules that they had at Pittsburgh, this was almost the identical schedule that we ran at Charlotte. So people kind of knew what to expect when they were coming in.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about back to Charlotte, right? You had 500 drivers at Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken, and
I don't think it was quite that many, but we'll go with it.
Was it at 400? But
yeah, it was a little over. It was over 400.
But. It was close. I think it was knocking on the door. You're up to the higher 400s, but you guys put caps in place this week as well to kind of we the Saturday, I believe we went from almost sunrise all the way to past sundown. We raced all under the lights at Charlotte. So, what's that been like? I mean, the response has been really good for Cup Karts North America. You guys had almost 600 at CKNA Grands last year. And then, your events get bigger and bigger as they go on. I mean, what's that been like as you guys, go through the years? The response has been great from the karting community and the 206 community in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's really humbling that people have supported us and, supported kind of the way that we like to do things. Every series has its own feel. Some people prefer one over the other. We kind of have a unique way that we do certain things, and some people have really appreciated it, and they continue to support us. So it's been awesome to see the growth over the years. There's new families every weekend, and we've got families that were there the first year that we started still. And they might not have made every race. I'm pretty sure there's not anyone who's made every race at this point. There's a couple people that have made most of them though. So it's really cool to see the years of the growth, watching a lot of these kids that are racing that have grown up, that are running senior now, that we had in kid kart. So it's really cool to kind of see it all come full circle.
Yeah, and I mean, go ahead, Alex. I was just about to hand it off to you, right? You're talking about guys who grew up in the series. Alex Searle, CKNA Grand National Champion in his own respect here.
Thank you, Caleb. Oh no, I always love talking to series owners because everyone has a different background in racing, why they got involved in the sport. I mean, I just want to hear from you, like what got you involved in racing and karting, and then to piggyback off of that question, what made you want to start a series?
Yeah, so I mean, my start in karting, I actually had 2 starts in karting, which is kind of an oddball deal. But I was actually dating a girl in junior high, and her dad raced karts and invited me to come and hang out with him at the racetrack. And they bought me what ended up being a go-kart that somebody made in their garage. And I raced that around for a couple years. Stopped doing that, took probably a year off. Started working at an indoor track where I was helping manage that. And Steve Vermeer, who ended up being my partner in the race series, saw me racing there. And he had been racing karts with his son and daughters and asked me to join them. So he and I raced for a couple years together, won a few championships together. Then kind of the same old story that a lot of racers have. They had a kid and kind of hung up the helmet and decided to be dad and had a couple full-time jobs to support that. And when my son got old enough and he started seeing pictures and hearing stories of dad at the racetrack, he wanted to get into it as well. So that was kind of my resurgence back into the sport. And after a couple years of racing, he and I together at the club level, we wanted to go further. And at that time, there just wasn't really any option for us in the 4-cycle world. That was my background. I had raced 4-cycle for the most part my entire career. And to be completely honest with you, that's really all I understood. The 2-cycle stuff, I knew just enough to be dangerous. I could drive one, but if you asked me to work on one, it would have been a really bad deal. So instead of trying to figure out a new class and a new category, we started trying to develop a racing series that my son could race in.
Yeah, and that started off as, if I'm not mistaken, CKNA was formerly known as 206 Cup. So was that Correct. The start of it? So just walk us through that, right? I mean, yourself and Steve, if I'm not mistaken, are the two founding members of 206 Cup and Cup Karts North America. So walk us through, how it all came to fruition and how you guys, decided of how to put on that very first event.
It was, I have to give Steve a lot of credit on it. It was definitely, it was something he and I had talked about, and it truly, the way it started was we were just trying to get some clubs to work together. Same thing you hear all the time. Clubs didn't have the same rules, had different tires, had different this, had different that. And it was super hard for one person to go from one club to the next. We had tried for a few years to do like an inter-club championship between a couple clubs. Could just never get everybody on the same page. So instead, I believe it was 2014, we just decided to kind of be add-on classes. So we came up with a name, which quite frankly wasn't very creative in 206 Cup. And, we built add-on classes at Eau Claire, Midwest Karting Association, which is unfortunately no longer with us. We also went to Road America and did 3 add-on classes there. And then we actually did a standalone for the last race at US Air Shawano. Since they didn't have really a club there, but I had some relationship with the track management at the time. They allowed us to come in for free, and just kind of host everybody and try to get something started. And we had a good response. We had, I think, 2 sponsors to get us through the year just to provide some prizes. And that was where it started. And we just kind of took the leap at that point and started reserving tracks and kind of doing our own deal.
Did you ever, envision it, coming to be the giant, racing series across North America, where you guys have even stuff in Canada? Did you ever envision it, coming to this, from that humble beginning?
No, I did not. Steve did. I knew it would get to be something. I think kind of the point when I don't remember which year it was, but there was, when we first went to doing, we called it a North and a Central division. So that was probably 4th or 5th year. That's kind of where I always thought it would kind of get to, maybe do one big race between the 2 divisions every year. That was always kind of where I saw it going. Steve always said we will have a 500 go-kart race. And I just kind of always chuckled at him and laughed at him. And he was very happy for the I Told You So that year when we did it at Grands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about the growth of CKNA, because you mentioned it just then, right? I think I competed it was Grand Nationals the 4th year of it, when you mentioned that you brought in like the North and the Central division, and that was kind of like the breakthrough year for you guys. Talk about the growth a little bit more in depth in CKNA, because at first, like you mentioned, it was more of an add-on division. Then it became a regional thing. You had the Grand Nationals, and then now you guys have the spring, the summer nationals, and you're going to continue to grow. I mean, talk about, first of all, how you got to this level, and then kind of where you see it continuing to grow. Because, I mean, at this point, you could probably get bigger than 600 go-karts. You guys have done it for back-to-back years now.
Yeah, I mean, the growth has been, we've tried to keep it as steadily healthy as possible. We really haven't had that year that really makes me go, oh, we're going the wrong direction, thankfully. We haven't had that, Marshall from Target Distributing, who's one of our longtime sponsors, always, gives me a chuckle, and he goes, you're going to have that one bad race. He for years, race directed Rotax and helped run that program. And he just always chuckles at me, you're going to have that one bad race that you're going to have to recover from. And I know it's on the horizon. We will have something that happens that we'll have to, it can't always go perfectly, but we've been very fortunate. And a lot of it just, again, it goes to our staff. I know it sounds cheesy, but we've been so fortunate over the years to have just some incredible people that work for next to nothing and sometimes even nothing, just because they love the sport. They love what we're doing. One of the things I always hear from racers is it reminds them of the old days when they used to race karts. And obviously all of us, I guess I'm probably the oldest one on the show right now, but even older than me, I hear that from a lot of those guys that it reminds them of what it was like when they used to race karts when they were younger. And that's really cool. And that's why we keep doing it. And I think that's why we keep growing, because that's the experience and people that they're looking for.
Yeah. And Greg, I mean, obviously the growth has been amazing. And I mean, you've kind of maintained that grassroots feel in a sense, and sort of the old school style of series, while also attracting a lot of the big teams in the 4-cycle world and the karting world in general, and a lot of the big driver names as well, like whether it be Brandon Jarskrak, Paulie Massimino, all the guys coming over from the 2-cycle world. So I guess the thing is like when you look at how the series started with 206 Cup and how it's kind of developed, where you have a very dedicated series following, and you kind of have a sort of section of customers that are more sort of focused, that have been kind of always focused on the 4-cycle world, and then some that have kind of integrated in sort of either as a mix or fully transitioning over. How's it been like kind of managing sort of the different segments of the market that have kind of came in as you've inevitably sort of gotten more of a market share, continued growing the series, and ultimately sort of really built CKNA into a brand now that is arguably one of the most successful karting brands in the United States?
You know, I try not to look at it that way. Everyone puts on the helmet. Everyone's the same racer when they get in the go-kart. I don't care what division people come from, what their background in racing is. You know, we have a pretty simple set of standards that we ask all of our drivers to follow. And if people want to follow them and come race with us, great. You know, I've never once looked at, you know, how do we target people from, you know, from a tag series or from a shifter series or something like that to come and race with us. You know, we have some of the best drivers in the United States, in North America, that run our series every week in and week out. And there are some of the best drivers that don't run our series that run some of the others. And a couple times a year, we try to find an event where everybody can kind of come to and race together. And if they want to come, they're more than welcome to. I truly think that's the beauty of this platform. It's affordable enough where someone can buy it to do 1 or 2 races a year. But it's easy enough to get set up, to get going, where someone who doesn't normally race 206, but they're an established racer, they can go bolt one on. If they're an upfront driver in their series, they'll have a fair shot at ours.
Yeah, and Greg, I mean, to bounce off of that a little bit, right? We've seen, like Emory said, a lot of, you know, top level talent from the 2-cycle sort of thing coming to the 4-cycle realm in the past couple of years, like Jarvis Crack, Massimino, Gaffar, etc. I mean, Colin Warren even, you know, got his feet wet in the 2-cycle stuff before he got into the 4-cycle stuff in recent memory. So I guess my point is, now that we've gotten to the level where in more of like the K100 X30 side of deal, many series you cannot run both classes. You have to pick one. In, you know, 206 CKNA, for example, a lot of drivers do run, you know, senior light, senior medium. Some do all three, senior light, medium, and heavy, if they feel like it. So I mean, what's kind of your viewpoint on it? Do you ever see the series going to a one, you know, you have to pick one class, or are you kind of for just letting the drivers go out there and do however many classes they can, you know, they're classified for?
You know, this question kind of came up after Spring Nats a little bit. I in general, I never like to tell people how to spend their money one way or the other. I never want to tell them they have to buy something, or never tell them they can't. There is something to be said for, you know, we try to limit the number of classes we have, and we're up to 9 now, which is, you know, one more than we ever planned on running when we kind of penciled this thing out. So when you get these drivers that run 3 classes, and I think at SummerNats, for example, I think there were maybe 4 or 5 of them. It does get a little bit tricky with just working the schedule to try to make sure that they have an opportunity to get from one kart to the next, from one class to the next, without it holding up the show, because we can't hold up the show and we won't. So there has been some discussion of saying maybe we need to limit it to 2, just to give people that opportunity. But I personally don't ever see a need or really a want to tell people they can only race 1. You know, this is not a professional division where there's a pro class or an amateur class or something like that, where it really makes sense to have that. You know, I guess you could have a conversation maybe at Grands or at one of the nationals at some time, maybe to have a novice category where you can't have a certain level of experience. But at the same time, I don't know if that's the place for it. I mean, you know, especially Grands, for example. I mean, that's a 3.5 day long show to really just figure out who is the best of the best for the year. Correct. And you know, if someone wants to run multiple classes and they want to put themselves through that, I mean, I wouldn't do it. It's you know, that's a lot of work and a lot of stress, but you know, the schedule's set up in a way that people for the most part can do it. So no, I don't see any reason that we would ever do that, unless it became a scheduling conflict at some point. But
yeah, has it ever become a concern? I've had a few drivers like reach out to me and ask me, and I want to go to the source. So has there ever been a concern of, and like you mentioned, maybe 4 or 5 drivers did all 3, this past weekend, but oftentimes when we go to the spring nationals or the grand nationals, that number might hit maybe 10 or 15. I'm just throwing a number out there of drivers that do all three. Is it ever a concern maybe some of the drivers that decide to run heavy are drivers that maybe like are on the cusp of weight in senior light and medium, and then they have to add about 60 pounds or whatever it may be to go hit heavy?
Yeah, so that is something that I think is a concern for everybody in karting in general right now. Is the ballast being on the karts being installed properly. We've made some adjustments in not only in our recommendations but in our requirements for how the ballast is attached to the cart and things like that, just to try to increase the safety and minimize the chances of something coming off. So yeah, I think there is something to be said for maybe a maximum amount of ballast to be put on the cart. I mean, I'll be honest with you too. It's one of the things that we constantly evaluate, but are the classes just too heavy in general right now? We have some pretty heavy weights right now to try to accommodate as many drivers as possible. And something we do every year when we can at a race, but we start to do what we call a weight study, but we start to, and it's an estimation, but we try to look at all the carts as they come across the scale and just kind of ballpark how much lead we think we see on all the carts. Because if we do see the opportunity where we can start to adjust the class weights down a little bit, I think that helps everybody. Because the cart lifting, the guys selling the electronic cart stands, you can hear those winches just screaming at the end of the weekend sometimes. So I mean, getting any lead off the carts in the long run, I think would be a really good idea.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one of, I guess, my final questions that I have here for you, it's super easy, to really get burnt out in our sport. And you're a guy who's put on a ton of races, all your spare time, you have a family as well, full-time job, and what keeps you going these days, right? Because it's a lot to kind of balance everything and put everything on a scale where you have to balance it. What's the thing that keeps Greg Jasperson going, these days, and what keeps him motivated to do everything that he does, whether it's as a family man, as a series promoter, series owner, what's all that like?
It's not hard to stay motivated. I mean, I'll admit, as I've gotten older, it's maybe a little bit harder to pull some of the hours that I used to pull. I'm sure you could ask Xander or any of the sponsors or anything. Sometimes the hours of the emails that they get responses, they're a little surprised by, because it's usually 3 or 4 in the morning when I took a couple hour nap on the couch and then can't go back to bed. So I jump back on the computer and start trying to get some work done. So, but no, what drives me? I mean, look, we've got some of the greatest racers in the country, and karting is a great platform to give these kids an opportunity, and some of these adults. I never took that transition to trying to be a professional racer. Don't know if I was ever good enough or not, but I had an opportunity to race at a young age, and if I wanted to go that way, I could have. And I think giving people and giving some of these younger drivers, especially, that place and that opportunity, that's the best thing we can do. I mean, racing has done so much for me and my family over the years. I mean, short of my best friends from high school, most of the friends and most of the people I talk to, I've met through racing. So I want to make sure that is there for the next generation. It's my way of giving back to everything. As it gets bigger, I need more help. Thankfully we've brought in, the Olds family has been a lifesaver. We've added some new tech folks. The Fredericks are coming in. So, I mean, we have some families that are really, stepping up to start filling some of the roles in our series. So not only can we make sure to maintain what we've been doing, but look at other growth options in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And Greg, I mean, talking about the growth in the future, I mean, I was looking back at some of the past interviews you've done with different people. And one of the things that you mentioned you had a little bit of interest in way back in 2020, 2021 was a street race, right? And I mean, I know it's kind of a bit of a joke in karting. It's kind of like on one hand, it's a really cool idea. On the other hand, the logistics sometimes can be a nightmare. But I guess on one side of it, what do you kind of look at as the logistics of a street race now and kind of the feasibility of it? And second off, when you look at CKNA in 3 to 5 years, right? When you look back 3 to 5 years ago, since then you guys have come a long way. You've obviously added the SummerNationals this past year. You've seen great success developing the regional programs, and even obviously the Grand Nationals continue to get bigger and bigger every year. But 3 years from now, what would you envision a good a strong outcome for CKNA to be, and then also again on the street race, do you think is possible?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with the street race thing first. Is it possible? Yeah, anything's possible. You just need willing people and some money to back up the idea. The hardest part, and although I have not done a street race as per se like Rock Island or Quincy or something like that, I've done enough similar things over the years. I can tell you the hardest part is finding a willing partner in the facility or the city or wherever you're doing it. That's the hardest part. Finding not only someone who's willing, but someone who has the area that's set up well to do it. So that's going to be the hardest part. If the opportunity ever came up and the stars aligned, I'm 100% for it. I've got a couple friends that I've done with street races with over the years. A couple friends I did when I used to do concessional corporate events where we'd actually set up in people's parking lots. I've got friends from that industry that, we could all come together. I think we could put something on really cool, but I would never force it. It would have to be the right situation. As far as, what's in the future, it's almost kind of the same answer. If the right situation pops up, if there's an opportunity for another division somewhere, or if there's an opportunity to add another big event somewhere, of course, we're going to look at we're going to look at things that make sense if there's an opportunity to do it. But our primary goal is always to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. Every weekend that I'm able to make it to the track, which isn't all of them, but, I go home with a list of notes of all the things that, I think we need to do better on and improve on. Whether it's something from a technology standpoint, whether it's something from an officiating standpoint, because I want to make sure that we're just, we owe it to our racers, we owe it to our customers to do the best job that we can every time they come to the track, because just as much as we're taking the time off, they're taking the time off to come and race with us.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And when you talk about expansion, I mean, these guys know I'm a Texas karting purist myself. So, I mean, I'll throw the question out there. Everything is bigger in Texas. We're waiting for you.
Yeah,
and
Texas
you're talking
seems,
about it. Yeah,
I probably had 5 separate people pull me aside about a Texas thing this last weekend. So you guys must have all gotten together to talk about this.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, there's probably 2 or 3 other areas of the country that I think probably have the racers to support another at least small division, kind of like we did in East, which has grown substantially in just 1 year. The first thing we have to do is make sure that we have the staffing to do it properly. Sure. I'm sure you could ask any other series operator that you guys ever have on here, and the hardest part is people. It's one thing just to find someone to go throw a headset on, but being able to trust them to make decisions that impact people's safety, and quite, and the reputation of the series, that's a harder part. So nothing's ever off the table, but at this point right now, we're just starting to work on our 2025 schedule, which I'm probably going to be the last one of the series owners to do. I've had a few talks with some of the other guys, and they're way further ahead than I am. But I've got, looking at, if we even do the same schedule as we did this year, that's, I believe, 17 races that we have to try to plan out and coordinate staffing for and logistics for. So it's a fair amount of work, and we want to make sure we get it as right as we can the first time.
Yeah, no, most definitely. The boys have no more questions for you. I've, super happy that you were able to join us, and super satisfied with everything. And there's a lot of other things. And speaking of Texas, a track owner, Kyle Uchinsky, out at Amarillo Kart Complex, he says he's got the facilities for you. He's got some people out there. So, I mean, there's people on here. I know some people as well. I'm from Houston, Sweet Sports Racing Park, a beautiful racetrack out there as well. And Kyle Uchinsky owns a really nice one out in Amarillo. So, I mean, whenever you want to, we're waiting for you. I'll throw on a safety vest and one of y'all's radios. I'll work a corner just to see you guys come out. But in all seriousness, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. And with all things said, you really put on some really good events. And for a guy like myself, who's a 206 racer, Alice was a 206 racer as well. Emory's dabbled a little bit, always been more of a 2-stroke guy. But, I mean, you've given a place for all of us to race at the national level. So for that, I mean, guys like Alessandro, myself, and even Emory, who will definitely go to a CKNA event, and at some point in his life, we definitely thank you for giving that platform for all 206 racers and a lot of racers out there to go out there and dip their toes at a national event. So big thanks to you, Greg, and all that you do.
No, of course. I mean, that's, you guys, I think, are the perfect example of what we're trying to do. I mean, because I know all of you guys on here right now have, 2-cycle and 4-cycle. And to me, that's what it's about. I mean, I really want it just to be, I want our events to be a place where just if people want to come race go-karts can come race go-karts. And I think that's really what it's becoming.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, Greg, with this last little bit of time that we have you on here, we'll give this chance for you to promote yourself, upcoming events for CKNA and the Grand Nationals at the end of the year as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're right kind of in the meat of the season right now. We felt like Summer Nationals the week or two after was going to be our break period, but break's pretty much over. So we got in 2 weeks we're up at for our Canadian series. We'll be at Lombardy, which it's our second time out at that track. It's a really, really cool track. It's up and coming. They've been doing a lot of improvements to the racing surface and everything. We did race there last year, and it really, really, really raced well. So that's going on in 2 weeks, and the week after that we're back to Road America. The series hasn't been to Road America for, don't quote me on this, but probably 4 years. It's been quite some time since we've been there. I personally have a lot of history there. It's a facility that I love. I've raced both the big track and the small track there many times. So I'm really excited to get everybody back out there. It's also an event we've always had a big turnout at. So we're expecting big things, and we're going to do something a little bit unique with the track layout there as well, just to make sure that everybody's got a fair shake at it there, because they have a pretty active club, and we want to make sure that we give everybody kind of a unique experience. And then the week after that, we're in New Jersey. So, the East Series goes back to New Jersey Motorsports Park for another race, and that's another track that I'm sure every one of us has been there before, and it's an awesome, awesome facility. Yeah. So, we got 3 weeks in a row before we've got our next little break here. So, it's going to be fast and furious for the CKNA team. I've got some staff that are running all 3 events, so they probably won't see their own beds for about 3.5 weeks there. But that's what we all decided we wanted to do when we put this together, because it's an awesome experience for everybody.
Yeah. Well, Greg, lastly, the boys usually do this as well. We'll definitely give you a round of applause for all the hard work that you've been doing and everything you're doing. So round of applause for Greg Jasperson, our first guest here tonight. Again, thank you very much for joining us. And for those of you folks who will be sticking with us later on, we'll go to a quick commercial break. But this has been it from CKNA owner, operator, and team man himself, Greg Jasperson. So when we come back, we'll shift over our second segment.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Colin, I need a new 219 chain. I need a 77 toothbrush sprocket. I need some more chain lube, and I need it probably as soon as tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, are you even listening? We need this to run this weekend.
Want anything else?
What do you mean?
I already got it in the car on Acceleration Kart Racing's online store, bro. All orders over $200 get free shipping.
Oh, throw in a set of tires.
Done.
Everything you need, all in one place, and shipped to your door for free on orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Shop AKR.com.
Well, as we shift over to our second segment of the show, myself and Alex here, Emory will join us here again really shortly. But we have a couple of more guests who are waiting to come on over the break. Some big news after our last two-stroke event on the other side of things. After SCUSA, Saudi Racing USA announced that they parted ways with the driver Harley Keeble, and quickly after Harley and as they're actually messing around the green room, so they're throwing me off my little mojo here. I'll just bring these boys in. Harley Keeble and Alessandro de Tullio seem to be in good spirits here. So Harley and Ali, I spoke to you guys earlier today, but how are you guys doing? How are things at the hotel?
Doing good. I'm super excited for the weekend. Obviously, I've got a teammate now. I had Dalton for a few races, but now I know I've got a teammate that we can work together with on the chassis, because Dalton didn't know so much about the chassis as he's never driven it before. Neither have I, so it's good for me to learn off Ale, and hopefully it can go well.
Yeah. So a little bit of background before they were distracting me while they were in the green room. Harley, obviously, as you can see on his shirt, joined InterMS over the break, the Kart Republic-based team, with Ale, who was the lead driver, who now has a teammate in Harley. So this weekend's the first weekend that you guys are going to be working together. You boys excited? Feeling good? I mean, you guys look pretty excited in the tent. How are you guys feeling? You guys drove a little bit last week. I saw on social media that you guys walked the track, and we're out here at Badger. So how was it? How are you guys feeling coming into the weekend?
Yeah, I didn't say hi, but good evening, everyone. I'm also very excited to have Harley in the team. Obviously, for the team, it's a good step forward in terms of what I always talk about, like chassis development, engine development. Having someone as good as Harley alongside of me is gonna help us, improve at a quicker pace. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to the start of this.
Yeah, let's dive into that a little bit, Harley. I mean, I just want to break the ice immediately. Obviously, big news, right? Parted ways from Sodi, joined InterMS. Before we get into how that all came about and why you chose InterMS as the team, I mean, talking about the past about 18 months that you've been here in the States racing in the senior category. I mean, what's that been like? How do you think your progression's been here in the States?
Yeah, I mean, I came for the first round of Pro Tour the beginning of last year, and it went very well. Like, I'm podium on both days. So obviously everything was great. We've had a lot of success. I've been to many places, met some great people. They've been all amazing. Super thankful for everything. And yeah, the 18 months, couldn't ask for anything more. And they've all worked really hard to get me where I am now. And it's been, I wasn't, hang on.
This guy's native language is English, and he's tripping up over here. I don't know. I mean, you're supposed to be that English is, it all originates from England. This guy's struggling with the language here. So wow.
He can speak Spanish if not.
He can speak
Spanish.
Yes.
Let's hear it.
Keep going. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, like, I mean, I was still happy where I was. It was just time for a new challenge, new goals.
Now, why is that, right? Because this is not new, news that drivers, they'll hop around teams, whatever gives them the best opportunity. But mid-season, it's a little bit more uncommon. So, why now do you think was the best, decision, best time for you to move teams?
Well, Sodi USA have got a lot of projects going on, and it's hard for them to keep up. So for me, it was just felt like the right time, and yeah.
Well, Ale, I mean, this marks about a year that you've been with the InterMS boys. I mean, you had an eventful, I think, 2023. You started the year, right? Paralin, Burrell, InterMS. Now you've been with this team for about a year. How would you kind of rate the past year with the InterMS boys? I mean, it's been, a lot of highs, some lows. I think probably the biggest high for you is probably the Winter Series Championship this year, a couple front row starts, especially at the Supernats. So, kind of summarize how your past, I'd say year and a half has been, because last year you had 3 different teams, now a year with InterMS.
Yeah, I think recently we've made a very big step forward, especially winning both championships at the beginning of the year in K and X30 for Winter Series. Supernats was very good. We had great pace all the whole week. Started front row, and then we made a mistake that a team, not only me and not only the mechanic, but everyone in the team that's making the decision. Sometimes things can go wrong, and especially us being together as a team for the first time at such a it's a type of race where everything needs to be right in order to win, and we just messed up one part of it, which is the tire pressure, and that's what really set us back that race. But I think this year has been another step forward, like I said, with the 2 championships and being on good pace every single race. And then the only tough race we've really had this year is Ohio in terms of pace, which was quite shocking. But I think we'll be back this week and now with this guy, so it should be good.
Yeah, and I mean, firstly, Ale, what was that?
I said I got a name, with this guy.
Yeah. I mean, this guy who Ale didn't name is you know,
Oh,
British cadet
name. I
champion.
thought you said an aim. I was like,
No,
oh,
name.
this guy's already targeting me.
This is going to be difficult when these two guys try to give each other feedback. Harley obviously has a little bit of an accent. Ale is, you know, Ale. But again, I mean, this guy was a British cadet champion in 2019, OKJ race winner in 2021, factory Barreau driver in 2022 for his senior debut, if I'm not mistaken, factory Tony Kart, Sodi factory. So, I mean, this guy is all right. He's an all right racing driver, I guess we could say, right? But I mean, Ale, you had a really good start to your year, right? As opposed to Harley, who had, you know, a little bit of a rougher one, had speed early on. You guys did really good at the Nürburgring Invitational, which, you know, the win after weight or whatever got taken away after. But it wasn't, I guess, the best of starts that you would have hoped, Harley. DNF. I don't know if it was that funny. DNF that at Scusa with engine issues. I mean, Harley, how's it been, you know, to manage all that? Obviously, it was a rough start. But now you two boys, you know, join each other to really, you know, try and you know, move the team forward, because Ali had a strong start, you know, kind of struggled in the past couple of months with DNF in Orlando. You know, just off the pace, a little bit off the. I wouldn't say off the pace. You were still up there and well inside the top 10 Ali at Trackhouse, and then last weekend as well inside of the top 10. But you know, just kind of up and down. Not definitely not up to your standards, right? So you guys are coming together now. You know, Harley, what's it like to work with Ale, and Ale, what's it like to work with a guy like Harley? Because it seems like the chemistry is already there whenever you think about it. Harley and Dalton, you know, had really, really good chemistry. These guys couldn't stay away from each other for more than like 5 minutes when they're at the racetrack, and you guys are rooming together this week. So what's it like, you know, working together, you know, as for the rest of the year?
Yeah, I mean, the first start of my season was really good. Well, we always had pace, no matter where we went. Like, there wasn't a point where we were slow. Like, we won the Rock Championship. We always had pace.
Correct.
Just my luck wasn't quite there this season. It hasn't been the best. And I mean, me and Ala we're really good friends. So I mean, I don't see why we shouldn't get along together, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to piggyback off of that, because like you guys obviously have had camaraderie, like you guys are buddies before you join teams together. But I think both of you are not used to having a teammate. I mean, like Harley last year really didn't have anybody. This year he had Dalton for select races. Ale, you've basically had no teammates for the past couple of years in senior. I mean, here and there with Burrell, but other than that, like you're not used to having teammates up there with you in X30. So now, what's it like to bounce off of what Kaleb asked, to have not only a teammate but a teammate of, you know, very similar calibers to each other?
I mean, I think it always helps to have such a good driver as a teammate. I think we can test different things and improve and develop at a faster pace, like I said before. You know, I've never really had a teammate consistently at every race, except for the 3 or 4 months I was at Bureau. But I think now with Harley, we should be, you know, like he said, we're good friends off track, and I don't know why not. We would obviously, we're both competitive, so we're gonna wanna win, but also we need to look at the bigger picture for the team and, you know, get the win and improve as a team.
Yeah. Emory?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, Harley, obviously, like you mentioned, the season had its up and downs, but last year, of course, coming on the US scene and being competitive really right away in 2023. And I mean, obviously, Kaleb mentioned the success that you had in Europe and in Great Britain, specifically through your cadet career, through your OKJ stuff, and then obviously with Burrell in 2022. But when you come over to the US, you kind of get yourself integrated in a new climate. You're kind of Sodi's de facto lead guy, leading the program for a year and a half. I mean, what was it like getting acclimated to the US climate in general? And then also, like, kind of what things were different, or what sort of things in the racing were different than you might have expected here, both on the track and off the track?
I mean, like, adapting to the certain tracks, the grip levels and everything like that, it wasn't too difficult. For sure, I had to change my driving style a little bit, and also with the different type of driving styles and how they race over here, it's not a big difference, but obviously it's a difference. And yeah, I mean, you just gotta do what everyone else is doing. If they're doing that, then you gotta kind of copy, because if you race how you was in Europe, some things could go a little bit more wrong than what they normally would, you know. So you gotta for sure, you gotta adapt, and it takes time. But I got a hang of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, success-wise, that was never a question. Pace-wise, never an issue either. And also, one other thing too, when you kind of make the team decision to make the move at this point of the year. I mean, Ali has a little bit of experience with this when it comes to last year around this time moving to InterMS, and I mean, to a lesser degree as well, the move to Prime last year early in the year. But to do it kind of at this point in the summer, what kind of went into the exact timing of it? Was it ever a consideration before Cincinnati, or was this something that kind of just like last minute spur of the whim, you decided to change teams?
No, I mean, we'd been talking for not very long at all, maybe a couple of weeks, a month max. And I mean, it was just, I wanted new goals, new challenges. I was still happy where I was, but I like a challenge. So I felt like it was the right time.
Speaking of a challenge, I know when you were a Sodi, like there were talks throughout last year and even the beginning of this year that, you know, we thought you'd see you in a shifter. I know you've done some laps here and there on the Sodi chassis, but didn't really ever do, you know, a pro shifter race. I mean, can we expect you to do some here with the InterMS boys? I know it's in the works, and I talked to you at Homestead about it. Is that something that you see yourself doing this year?
It was in the publication, I think, for SummerNats. Is that true here, Harley? Are we gonna see you in a shifter at SummerNats?
Probably not. I don't think so. I mean,
Dude,
for sure I'll ask, but
that was my reaction when he told me at Homestead.
Focus,
You came to be with me. Come on.
my main focus.
He's already leaving.
My main focus.
No more teammate for you, Ale. Yeah.
Get trained to create the graphic.
his main focus is X30. It took him 3 tries to get it out, but his main focus happens to be X30. Have you guys had any big arguments? Did you guys argue in the hotel room about, you know, what temperature you guys were gonna set the AC on or any of that stuff yet, or you guys kind of just?
I don't know. I'm pretty warm right now, so would you?
It's fine. Come on. No, but we have a VR, and with some of the other guys from the team, we do boxing.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
No, seriously. If it's really serious, that's why if I struggle to take down the cart tomorrow, you know why? Because it's actually very physical. It's very.
Who's the more annoying roommate to have in the hotel?
Out of the team.
Out of you two.
Well, he's only been with me. Oh,
I was
you.
Who takes long to get ready? Who takes long to get ready? Who do you have to get up?
Oh, I cannot wake up.
He's terrible with alarms. So bad. Oh my! I had to turn his alarm off 4 times this morning.
We were setting up. I did not want to go.
No, but still.
Oh, you don't want to help the boys set up, dude?
Day by day.
You gotta help them set up. That's part of the job.
No, I did help set up. I didn't want to wake up. Plus, I have my head is now automatically. I turn it off. My phone is next to me and I'm sleeping. I'm not conscious what I'm doing, but I turn it off. He took my phone, I guess, because I couldn't hear it.
Jeez.
Waking up.
Goodness gracious. Emory, you have anything else for these guys?
Yeah, I mean, they were talking earlier when I was going through all my setup debacle after the break about kind of the success to start the year. But I guess I want to take it back to the end of last year. I mean, the consistency that you showed race after race after race. I mean, you were, I think, in the top 11, something like 17 or 18 straight races last year.
Yeah.
This year, you've had the highs. I mean, you had, obviously, Winter Series was phenomenal for you. Orlando, all the way up until the main event, was phenomenal. The final at Trackhouse, obviously really good. But then you've kind of had also a couple of downs that maybe you didn't have last year. And is that something, as you reflect on going forward through the rest of the year, is there anything in particular that you feel like needs to be adjusted to kind of get that consistency back a little bit? Or is it just something that the luck of the draw, maybe one weekend the setup's off a little bit, maybe another weekend you get into wreck coming down the front straightaway at Orlando? Is there just something to it, or kind of just straight up luck?
Very specific.
Qualifying. qualifying in practice. I cannot be top 10. I don't know why. This week I
Can't get out. Hey, there's no Super Bowl this week, so
yeah,
can't miss out on.
But I actually had 2 chances with Super Bowl, and I didn't even make Super Bowl. So
yeah,
it's a skill issue.
Your head like
it's a skill issue.
No, but
it's a skill issue.
Yeah, I think no, seriously, like I think qualifying we need to work on a little bit. I think maybe my driving style doesn't bring the kart in enough time to set a lap with only this qualifying session here being maximum 5 laps. I think USPKS is 5 laps. Scusa is like 3. So I think I'll be a bit better here. But yeah, I think qualifying we need to work on just to secure a good starting spot for the heats and stuff. I think it's super important for points as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting though, because usually I feel like you've normally been a pretty good qualifier. Like I know last year with Carolyn, with Burrell, like you've normally been a pretty good qualifier. So where do you think the pace has gone?
Out the window. No, I think.
Man, you guys. Oh, this is gonna be a long year with you two, man.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think it's something. I think the bad qualifyings have been pretty much Ohio. Well, Ohio's bad all week, but GoPro as well. Trackhouse, sorry. There we struggled a lot in qualifying.
It's still GoPro.
And then, yeah, I call it GoPro. But no, I think the issue is not as big as it seems. I think it's just been two races in a row that qualifying was not good. But I think it's stuff that happens to everyone. It could be a bit of me, a bit of tire pressure. Every little amount ends up adding up and matters a lot, especially in such a tight field. So we'll be fine. It'll fly back to me.
Go ahead, Emory.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Harley. You've driven a whole lot of different go-karts, and ultimately the best drivers. I mean, you can find a way. I mean, Ali last year alone, I believe, drove 3 different chassis at a certain point. So, Harley, on your end, like you go from the SODI to the KR, you've already done some testing. Kind of what sort of small differences have you noticed, and kind of do you expect it to be any different fundamentally when you get into the kart for the first race condition?
You guys are terrible to have on. Goodness gracious.
What are you laughing at?
Repeat the question, Emory.
No, I know what you're
saying. All right, go ahead.
That's the one time.
Yeah, so I've driven 3 go-karts, 4 including the KR. I only did 1 day. I mean, the track was still 3 seconds off, so it's hard for me to tell, right? Like, still very slippery. But yeah, it felt great. I mean, I've driven the OTK, the Burrell, the Sardine, and they've all been very similar. And we all know that they're all very, very successful. So we know it's going to work.
You mentioned, being a little bit off in the KR just because the track was slippery. I know you guys were testing there last week slightly. You said the track was off for majority of testing. It got better and better as the week went on, and it got probably better as it will get better as this week goes on. What do you guys think of Badger? Right, we haven't been to this racetrack in a bit in terms of a high level series coming to the year. So, I mean, I talked to you guys at Homestead about it. You guys both seem to enjoy it. I mean, is that something that you guys feel like will translate into a good race for this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the track. It's little European, just very narrow, but I really like the track. And I think nigger racing is going to be good because you can overtake in pretty much every corner. Turn 1, turn 2, 3, 4. Maybe not the chicane, the 7.
8, 9, 10.
2 hairpins. Trust me. Pretty much all of them, yeah.
We'll make it work in the chicane.
You crash go-karts in the chicane.
I agree with him. I think the racing will be good. Also, if you put a lap together, it feels nice. It's like, since there's so little, at least when we drove, there was so little grip that when you did a lap without hearing so much tire, it was good. But then there was no grip when we drove. I don't know now. The times we saw that on the local race, it was quite a bit better. So
Yeah.
should be better.
But it also rained in the money race a little bit as well.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But we walked the track today.
That-
At least you could see the racing line.
Even
Oh, yeah?
more of a reason why our track was slippier. It rained, yet there was still quite a lot faster than us. So
I don't think that's how it works.
why?
Oh my God, you guys, this is gonna be chaotic all year. I could just tell you two. I thought Dalton and Harley was crazy, but we didn't get to see that too often. You two is gonna
Nah,
be...
they were pretty. They couldn't even keep their hands off each other in that video we did where they had to build Legos. I can't imagine these two. And this guy just races. Wow. Okay. But what do you guys look at as we get to the closing stages segment? What are you guys looking forward to? And we'll give the time for you guys to promote yourselves a little bit, right, Ale and Harley?
I mean, my main focus is still on karting. Yeah, like just
Nice.
want to win, you know.
Yeah.
Main focus is on karting, and my goal is to win. And if I'm not winning, it's not good enough.
Yeah. Ale?
Yeah. The same. I think the goal is to win no matter where I am. And yeah, I mean, my goal is obviously, it's to win.
Well, as simple as that.
Whoa. One more thing.
Win. Go ahead, Alex.
There you go.
Yeah, because Ale knows what I'm gonna bring up. I mean, I don't know how much you can mention, but I know there is a bit of plans in the works next year for you outside of karting. So, I mean, if you want to touch on that at all, I mean, go be my guest.
Yeah, I'm gonna be working in the kitchen from.
These guys are so unserious, dude. It's crazy.
Give us so natural. Okay, no, I'm serious.
What are you cooking up? Is what Alex
You're
is
the
asking.
one who was unserious. Kitchen, mate. From car into the kitchen. Wow.
All right. No, it's serious. Yeah, like you said, I can't really talk much about it, but the goal is obviously to, like most drivers want in karting, is to progress from karts to cars, and have a career, have a future in motorsports. So, yeah, I think we're working on a plan to move back into open wheel cars, and yeah, hopefully it works, and I can go back to cars and make the transition again.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna leave Harley by himself.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, right? I just joined and he goes.
Also, yeah, I need a break already anyway.
Well, Emory, Alex, any final questions for these boys?
I just want to know, I mean, seeing Ale in a kart, awesome. Seeing him in a car, hopefully, also awesome. But I mean, if you're in the kitchen next year, what are you gonna cook?
Thanks. That's about it,
Mac and cheese in the microwave.
Great.
Mac and cheese from the
We got Gordon Ramsay down here.
Yeah. Well,
Let me know if you guys want lunch tomorrow.
Hey,
No, absolutely not.
I would
You'll be sick
actually
the
love
rest of the week, but-
Well,
Oh,
boys,
God.
it was a pleasure having you guys on, and I think you guys gave us a little preview of what we're going to see in some of our personality videos later on this year. So,
Box in life.
It's gonna be a disaster.
well, it was a pleasure having you guys on, and for those of you viewers who are watching, these two boys are going to team up for the first time this weekend under the InterMS pink and chrome banner on the KR powered machines with the Crivelli powered engine. So we'll see them later on this week, and they continue to laugh. I'm literally about to kick both these boys out so we can continue with our show, and that's exactly what's going to happen. So,
We're gonna ban them from the studio at this rate.
they're never coming back. Never having them on again. A one-on-one is fun because they can keep it serious. But
No, we're back.
Well, boys, it was a pleasure having you guys. I'm sure we'll be speaking to you guys a whole lot this weekend trackside. So we look forward to that. I mean, I spoke to you guys today, but I'll see you guys at the racetrack tomorrow. And Alex will see you guys. And you guys aren't going to race against Emory because he's on the K side of things. But we'll all see you
Not
guys.
good enough.
And chat with you guys a little bit. But a pleasure having you guys on nonetheless.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you guys and have a good night. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, myself, Emory, and Alex will debrief a little bit from last week, a tiny bit, and then preview what's coming up this week. So stay with us.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, $70?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Well, welcome back to KC Grid Talk. As we just heard from Alessandro and Tullio, and we don't know if that was informational or a little chaotic. Some people forget those guys are still kids. They're still literally children. I believe 17 years old, 18 years old. So when you put, two peas in a pod, they definitely get cooking. So there you guys have it. But yeah, I mean, boys, we'll talk a little bit about last week. Emory was over at Rotax. I was racing. Alex was no idea
Coaching.
what he was doing. He was coaching. There you go. He was coaching. But we all had. You guys probably had a better weekend than I did. But Emory, Rotax, quick summary. What'd you think? Really, really, really quick as we get into the final little segment of our show.
Yeah, so on track in the Rotax senior side of things, Zachary Clemento had an awesome win. Very fun race to watch. We saw Diego Ramos dominate all weekend long. Thought it was going to be his show in the final of it against Oliver Hodgson. Both of them had issues. Ramos retiring about 10 laps into the race after a contact with Gavin Bailiff. Hodgson getting into it with Timothy Pernod and ultimately having to come through the field to get on the podium. ZCD, typical ZCD fashion. Very interesting race ultimately, and wound up winning it on track. They gave him a 10-second penalty for avoidable contact on one of the earlier laps, I believe, with Ramos. So that gave the win to Cooper Auclair, who had to recover from a DNF in qualifying. So good race from him through the heat races, ultimately coming away with the win in the final. And throughout all the other classes, I mean, good racing all throughout. Can't see my camera, unfortunately, so we're taking the L on that one. But as a whole, all four races, I mean, they had some good battles. Rencio Martin and Masters came with a good win against John Monano, and Mini, Micro, and Junior all had some pretty good shows. So I think the track, as always, as you guys know, Cincinnati races really well. I thought MCC put on another good show. The Rotax East Trophy, a little bit of a different layout from Rotax West, so that was cool to see, with just moving to the one final. And ultimately, the Senior Max final capped off what was a chaotic but really good weekend.
Yeah, on my side of things, I was over at Cup Karts North America. I was actually on the mic for one race when Xander stepped out. Senior Light E2, I think. So, but nonetheless, I mean, I raced, but that's besides the fact. DNF'd in the final. Anyways, it was a good event overall. A lot happened that weekend with great racing all around from the 206 guys who went head to head all weekend long, and they really delivered some great racing action. Owen Lloyd, I believe, won senior medium. Colin Warren won senior light, and one of the VLRs, Colin Warren's teammate, the name's not coming to me right now. Dylan. Yes. Amundsen?
Yeah.
Amundsen. Dylan Amundsen. Edmondson.
Yeah. Amundsen.
We need to
We're
correct
changing up every time.
This is outrageous that we're not getting this right, boys. This is our job here. One of the VLRs. TS Racing VLR. I believe it was Dylan who won that race. The last name isn't coming to me because there was an Amundsen, an Edmondson.
It's a Munson.
It's a Mudson. Starting with an
All right.
A.
All right. Anyways, he won the race. First name Dylan. These boys are saying Amundsen. Anyways, he won the race. It was great. That race was great. And it was great racing action all the way through, and really kept everybody on their toes on the fence line. 258 entries, I believe, but still a pretty good job. We heard from Greg Jasperson earlier on the show, but this weekend we come, these boys are going to come to Badger Kart Club. I'm already here. We've been here since yesterday, and, paddock already starting to fill up, and great to be back at another go-kart track. So we look forward to it. Boys, what are we looking forward to this weekend?
That's kind of the first thing for me that's on my mind. But in general, I think that the entries have kind of come together pretty nicely. Up near 200, you have 40 plus in both of the KA fields. The X30 field a little bit lighter this weekend at only about 15 or so. But I think like Harley said, it's very much kind of an old school type of track. We saw at the Millwright Shootout that it was really a lot of good racing. There was 105 entries. As we calculated on last week's show, I believe it was $29,750 was the total count. So very, very good money being given away. And if anyone has not seen Millwright Raceway, it's a very fun track to drive. It's kind of old school style, a lot of heavy braking zones, a lot of passing opportunities, a bull ring, so to speak. I think that's going to create some unique racing. It's not going to be kind of as like fast and open as like a Newcastle or Cincinnati would be, but certainly it'll be a technical course and one that I think should throw up some good racing in pretty much every category.
Badger looks fun. Yesterday, whenever we got the rental car and we were here at the track, I was almost tempted to grab the rental car and rip some laps around Badger Kart Club. Firstly, that would have been super illegal, and I don't recommend it to anyone. And secondly, the gates were closed, or else I would have definitely further evaluated that decision.
Let it be known that Kaleb Vieska promotes illegal activity on this podcast.
I do not. I definitely do not. We're literally talking about Ali and Ali being kids. We're no better.
Hey, quick question. What rental car company did Xander book this one through?
I have no idea. I actually don't.
All right, I'm gonna assume it's either. I'm just gonna assume it's Hertz, and I'm gonna call up Hertz tonight and tell them the evidence of this. So,
well,
you're done for, pal.
Yeah,
we're gonna need to find someone else to do pit reporting this weekend.
Yeah. But a guy who's usually doing pit reporting, getting in the booth this weekend, Alessandro. What are you looking forward to this weekend? You're back finally after leaving us here to dry and not really been hanging out with us. You just come on the show during the week, and then whenever it comes down to get nitty and gritty, tear down or setup or actually get out here at the sun, rain, flu or whatever it is, you just don't show up, man. What are you looking forward to this week?
That's crazy. That's diabolical right there. No, I'm looking forward to a lot of things. I mean, for one, being back at Badger at a national level race, it's awesome. We heard from Ale, Harley, a lot of passing opportunities. It's a bit narrow, but nonetheless, everyone that I've talked to so far this week in the X30 and the KA categories have said how much looking forward to racing here. And I think the racing is gonna be incredible. Like Emory said, entries slightly down in the X30 class, even in the KA senior for its standard, a little bit low, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be incredible racing. USPKS arguably has, one of the strongest KA senior fields that we see every single round. And even the X30 class, even though it's only about maybe 15, maybe 20 by the time, Thursday, Friday rolls around, it's usually 15, 20 of the best X30 drivers you have in the country. So while entries may be low, nonetheless, I think we're going to have incredible racing. And yeah, I'm excited. Emory?
Yeah, and one thing about the entries being low for K, this is the first race since October of 2024 with less than 45 entries in K senior for USPKS. So, if anything, for me, this kind of speaks to how well USPKS has done in the 100cc stuff heading into this weekend. That 43 entries is considered a down weekend. So I think that's kind of a good narrative. And also on the KA side of things, they have a ticket to the IME finals in Le Mans up for grabs.
Yeah.
this weekend that they announced about a week ago. I noticed, I think, a relatively noticeable swing in entries coming in after that. So I think that people were well aware of what was going on. But I think it's a cool opportunity, again, to kind of sort of add a little bit of spice into what's been a really competitive KE field all year. And I mean, there's going to be big names in that. And then obviously on the X30 side, you still have the money up for grabs if they can get to 20 entries. We saw on the Millwright Shootout, Austin Garrison led for the first 4 laps, blew a motor. Ryan Norberg walked away with the win overall. And I think that if Norberg officially enters this weekend, he'll be one to watch. And I think that, like, in general, even though the entries might not be 100% there, like Alex mentioned, the field quality is going to be really interesting to watch. I think a strong suit as well, with as many kind of guys that have a lot of laps around Badger, giving them a good advantage.
Yeah, and I'm gonna look at the race lineup here real quick. I do not see Ryan entered for the race yet. He is here, and I did see him today. Haven't spoken to him, but I want to assume he's racing because he is in the fight for the championship. So, I mean, he's not the only guy going at it this weekend. Hometown kid, the Wisconsin Wonder Kid, Brandon Lemke, exclamation mark, going to be here this weekend. We saw a showing at Trackhouse Motorplex where he was running down Joe Turney. He's at his stomping grounds. Home track for him, home track for Josh Holtz, and basically a home track for Nick Terlecki. So a lot of Wisconsin drivers here this weekend, 3 of them who are going to be, drivers to watch as we look down. 14 karts entered total. Zach DeMello as well entered, racing for the Bennick team this weekend. The DPK America's driven Bennick machine for the full size, so they're going to be on the Kart Republics. But looks to be an interesting weekend. Eli Warren, sorry, I'm scraped through it. Alex Feldstein getting his toes wet here in the senior category. So we have some new drivers. Paulie here, Henry Lepard back in. And I'm just going to run down the entire thing. Brandon Carr, Garrison, McNanzu, Keeble, DeMello, Alex Feldstein, Quentin McPherson, Terlecki, Eli Warren, and Santi Fernandez, who's back with SCR. But Eli Warren. I spoke to his dad, Keith Warren, last week at CKNA, and he was telling me, he was like, yeah, me and Eli had a deal that if he won a race, a national race, that he could pick whatever X30 race that he wanted to. And he won stars last year at the Clash of the Club, and he was like, yeah, looks like Wisconsin's the one that I'm going to do, Dad. So let's do it. And they're going to do it. Same privateer operation, just the 2 of them. And they're going to take it to some of the best in the nation. So let's see what it's like. Apparently, they've been saying that the way he drives a KA is like an X30. So the adaptation should be quite easy. It is different. So we'll see what it's like this weekend for Eli, who gets set to make his pro debut. So it'll be interesting. But anything else, boys, before we call it a night and get some rest? We'll see Alex tomorrow. Well, I'll see both of you guys here. So before Emory calls it a night from the show, and Alex, I guess, calls it a night and does whatever Alex does on a Wednesday afternoon.
Yeah, we got about an hour or 45 minutes until we're in Dowsman. So be ready. Dowsman, Wisconsin. We're in your walls almost.
It's steak night, dude. It's steak night.
But no, I think it should be a fun weekend. Excited to be back on the track with Host Driver Development. I'm the only one, I think, of the senior guys that isn't doing double duty or isn't doing X30 in some capacities. So I'm
washed.
Yeah. hey, yesterday was
no.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yesterday was my first time on an X30 in 5 years.
Nice.
And, for that being the case, I thought we low-key kind of cooked, I will say the new MG yellow tire was a bit to get used to. The mid-range of an X30 is definitely different than a KA. But, I'm not Eli Warren this weekend. I'm not Alex Feldstein. I'm not Quinn McPherson. I'm not making the jump up there. But, hey, I respect it.
He's fighting for a ticket to France.
Yeah, you know,
Bonjour after this weekend. Bonjour.
I don't.
Oui,
man.
oui. Croissant. I don't know what else.
Hey,
Emory is.
depending on how this weekend goes, it could either be get ready to relearn VMix or get ready to learn French. So
Get ready to oui, 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 oui.
oh
Hey,
man,
this guy's gonna go to Paris. We're believing here. I'm not biased, but Emory Lighta's going to Paris. Book the ticket. All seriousness, though, Alex, what are you looking forward to this weekend? Or last thought? Sorry, I already asked.
I think you kind of mapped it out pretty well there. I think I'm excited to see how the Wisconsin locals do in the X30 class. I think we have some pretty intriguing names in X30 besides the very common national guys we always see. We have some newcomers or some guys that are just getting their feet wet in the X30 class, and I think they're going to be able to make a name for themselves. I'm pretty excited to see what they can do. I think this is going to be a strong weekend for the Hotes guys. I think Josh Hotes, I think Terlecki is going to continue on the pace that they have shown all year long. So I really high hopes for them. I think if we did a segment of predictions, I think this would be the week that Emory could really lock in a Josh Hotes win, and
yes,
it's in the cards. I think Josh Hotes, for one, they've, like we talked to him in the previous show, of they've been improving from last year to this year in the 125 stuff. I think himself and Terlecki have really made leaps and bounds on their piece, and I think it's been very, very strong all year long. So I think it would not shock me one bit if the two of them are both in the top 5 or at least in the top 7 in the mix. I mean, I know I believe in the money race this past weekend with Ryan, I know Hotes was giving a run for his money as well. So I think we're in for a treat for sure, and this is no runaway for any driver as far as I'm concerned, in terms of it's a fairly new racetrack for some drivers. For half the field, for the other half, it's a track that they know very well. Maybe not on an X30 package, but on a KA package for sure. So a lot of storylines that we're going to continue to go through all weekend long, and I think we're in for some great racing here in Badger.
Yeah,
definitely.
One other thing too.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say this comment about don't sleep on Quinn McPherson and Badger. He got on the podium in the sword race in K Senior. So $1,000. I'm assuming that might play a small reason as to why he's racing X30 as well this weekend. But I mean, he's gonna be up there. I think him, Feldstein, Hotes, Terlecki, and then obviously goes without saying Brandon Lemke at Badger is insanely tough to beat. So there's a lot of local talent, but there is also a lot of talent in general coming in. So I think no matter what, it's going to be a fun weekend.
Fun weekend indeed. But with that being said, boys, episode 16 done and dusted. Emory's in a car. Alex is at home. I'm in the RV again, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be joined by all you people at home. But if you guys want to get a hold of us or send us a DM, whatever you may like, an Instagram reel, our Instagram handles in all of our names. Emory, is back in the seat. Alex is back in the booth, and I'll be roaming around the pits, giving you guys all the intel that you may need this weekend. But episode number 16 of KC Grid Talk officially done and dusted, and not going to say goodbye. I'll say goodnight, because we'll be seeing you all this weekend. So episode 16 in the books. This has been KC Grid Talk, episode 16. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here with you guys. But all that being said, thank you and have a good night.